The chamber thrummed with alien voices, high-pitched harmonics, guttural growls, electronic pulses, each language twisting through the conclave's translator sphere into a perfect, neutral cadence. Above them, the starlit dome rotated slowly, a ceiling of artificial night that reminded delegates they spoke not for planets, but for galaxies. And still, Earth's chair remained empty. It sat at the far end of the ring, a sleek, obsidian frame inlaid with veins of blue. No dust collected on it. No one dared touch it. A silent relic. A scar. "We proceed," intoned high speaker Venkat Sarun, his voice resonating through layered vocal sacs. 200 years of silence. No envoy. No response. No presence. The time has come. The seat must be struck from this council. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. Dozens of species stirred. Some exchanged wary glances, others nodded in silent agreement. A few, the old allies, remained motionless. Alex DeLorean sat among the Thalran delegation, her eyes fixed on the human seat. Not in protest, but curiosity. A historian's gaze. An analyst's mind, dissecting silence like it was language. "They were never the same as the rest of us," murmured First Scholar Vari beside her, tentacles coiling thoughtfully. "So loud. So forward. And now?" Alex asked, not turning. "Now they are gone. Perhaps that was their nature too." Sarun raised one chitinous limb. "The council votes. Say your piece or be still." Alex stood. Gasps. The Thalran did not interrupt council proceedings. Not since the Viridian War. "I request deferment," she said clearly, her voice carrying. Sarun's eyes narrowed. "On what authority?" "I submit new data. Recovered from human satellite debris near the Arcturus drift. It contains an encrypted sublayer, active code, dated 2941. She paused. 50 years after Earth's silence began. A hush. The silence wasn't from outrage. It was fear. Most thought humanity simply left. Quietly, eerily. But if they were active after the disappearance? Sarun responded, smooth as oil. A dead machine humming its last loop. Artifacts do not equal intention. They do if the encryption evolved. Alex tapped her wrist pad. A glyph flared into the air, human script. Slowly translating into conclave standard. "Should the stars weep red, we return." The chamber darkened, metaphorically. Sarun didn't blink. "This council will not be guided by cryptic fearmongering." "They didn't vanish," Alex said. "They withdrew. On purpose." Sarun's silence was immediate, surgical. He knew not to argue directly. Instead, he motioned. "Vote stands. Deferment denied. Earth's seat will be removed within 5 cycles unless an envoy appears. Unlikely, considering the planet is sealed behind defenses no ship has passed in 100 years. He didn't bother to look at Alex again. Hours later, the corridors of the Citadel were quieter. Alex moved quickly, her robe clipped at the waist for easier strides. The Thalran shipmaster would report her disobedience soon, but she didn't care. She reached the archive vault on level 9, neutral space, open to all delegates. A haven for forgotten things. The ancient knowledge of extinct races. Here, she hoped, were clues. Her fingers danced across the console. The encryption matched the Arcturus code. Human, yes, but not legacy. This was adaptive software. It grew. Learned. Shifted. Like a living mind. Behind her, a whisper. "You seek ghosts?" said a low, slurred voice. She turned. A robed figure stood near the shadows. A Shikar mercantile scribe by the look of him. But his accent was off. "Who are you?" Alex asked. "Someone who remembers." He stepped forward. His cloak shifted unnaturally. Camouflage tech. Human-made. He held out a data shard. "You want answers? Go to Beacon 12. Past the Serpent's Void. It's off-grid now, but the signal repeats. They left something behind. Something meant to be found, only now. Alex narrowed her eyes. Why help me? He smiled faintly. Because Earth's silence wasn't a retreat. It was a countdown. Then he was gone, melting into the corridor traffic as if he'd never been there. Alex sat alone in her quarters, light low, ship authorization papers glowing on her tablet. She wasn't cleared to leave. Not without conclave approval. But waiting would bury the truth under red tape and political inertia. Earth was more than a mystery. It was a warning no one wanted to read. She stared at the last line of the transmission again. Should the stars weep red? She'd seen recent deep field scans. A crimson nova had flared near the galactic edge, unexplained. Unnatural. A coincidence? She tapped a key. The other fall, a survey vessel under diplomatic license, prepped for launch in 12 hours. She didn't plan to ask permission. In the great chamber, the council recessed. Lights dimmed. Delegates filed out. The seat of Earth remained untouched. Behind it, in the shadows, a sensor activated. It blinked once. Then again. And began recording. The other fall hummed like a forgotten hymn as it slipped past the fringe of mapped space. Navigation lights pulsed against the void, small, defiant sparks in an ocean of silence. Ahead lay the Serpens void, a dead stretch of space where signals bent and stars seemed hesitant to shine. Alex sat alone in the cockpit, fingers tapping against the metal armrest. She'd left without clearance, falsified her trajectory, and carried stolen fragments of human code embedded in her ship's AI. Every choice she'd made was now a sealed door behind her. But none of it mattered, not when Earth's silence was beginning to whisper back. Approaching designated coordinates. The ship's synthetic voice chimed. Beacon 12 detected. She leaned forward. The beacon floated ahead, wrapped in a crumpled orbital ring. Scorched, rusted, and riddled with micrometeorite pockmarks, it looked long dead. But a pulse still blinked from its core, slow and stubborn. Establish link, Alex ordered. The screen flickered. Static. Then code. Thick layers of encryption scrolled faster than her eyes could follow. Not a distress call. A structure. A system. Instructions. And buried in the layers, her name. She froze. Alex DeLorean, the voice said. Male. Human. Calm. Welcome. This archive is restricted. Confirm identity. The console vibrated. Not a hallucination. Not a recording. Confirming, she said, stunned. How do you know me? Protocol Vigilant Starfall recognizes ancestral biometric markers. Thalran Human Partnership lineage, verified. Her heart thudded. This wasn't just a beacon. It was a gate, set to open for her. Access granted? Prepare for data transfer. Warning, exposure to classified material may incur existential risk. The word risk blinked red. She hit accept. The screen darkened. Then, images, thousands, flashed by, blackened stars, shattered moons, alien cities swallowed in spreading void. But it wasn't war. It wasn't conquest. It was consumption. The logs were clear. Something beyond the galactic rim had moved. Slowly, invisibly. It erased not just matter but intelligence. Thought. Consciousness itself. The humans called it the Starborn Plague, an entity that fed on neural activity. Not alive. Not a machine. Something other. Why keep this hidden? Alex whispered. The voice responded. Because truth invites observation. And attention draws it closer. She stood slowly. The weight of it settled over her like ash. Back in the core of the ship, Alex paced the corridor. She should have turned around. Brought this to the conclave. But she knew what would happen: debate, delays, dismissals. Sarun would bury it under process and ridicule. She needed proof. Physical evidence. Something undeniable. The terminal pinged. Another signal, nearby. This one wasn't human. She turned back to the console. A vessel. Small. No beacon. No registry. Moving toward her. Unknown ship. The other fall's AI confirmed. Trajectory intercept. Time to contact 4 minutes. Alex activated shields. Evasive maneuvers. Broadcast diplomatic credentials. The ship didn't slow. Prepare for boarding, the voice said. She grabbed her sidearm and backed toward the engine bay. The outer hatch hissed. Air cycled. The interior light stuttered as footsteps clanged through the docking corridor. Then, stillness. A figure stepped in. Humanoid. Armor-clad. No insignia. No visible face. I don't want violence, Alex said. The figure raised a hand and flicked a small device. Her sidearm flew from her grip and clattered across the floor. Too late, it replied. The voice was male, synthetic filtered. You weren't supposed to find it. Alex narrowed her eyes. Sarun sent you? He tilted his head. Sarun's a symptom. The disease is deeper. He moved toward the terminal. Reach for the drive. No! Alex lunged. A flick of his wrist sent her sprawling. But the moment gave her what she needed. Her other hand hit the emergency lockdown. Steel slammed down over the bay. He looked around. Calm. Clever. You're not getting that data, she said, catching her breath. I already did. The drive behind him blinked. Download complete. He pressed a button on his gauntlet and vanished. One moment there. The next gone. No shimmer. No warning. Just absence. Alex staggered to her feet. Every nerve buzzing. She ran diagnostics. The drive was intact. The copy he took, though, it meant the truth was loose. And someone didn't want it spread. She needed allies. And there was only one place left where humans had built defenses no outsider had ever breached. Alex stood at the viewing port, eyes fixed on the void beyond. The stars seemed quieter here. As if listening. Plot a course to Sol, she said quietly. The ship hesitated. Conclave law prohibits unauthorized approach to Earth. I'm already a traitor, she muttered. Might as well make it count. As the engines flared and turned toward the forbidden system, Alex clenched her fists. If humanity had prepared for something out there, it was time someone answered the call. Behind her, the terminal pulsed once. Then again. Beacon 12 was no longer dormant. The other fall broke the edge of the Sol system like a thief crossing a forgotten threshold. Alex watched from the bridge as Jupiter rose beneath her. The gas giant was majestic and vast, but different. Thin black filaments spiraled from its poles, connecting to satellite nodes in perfect geosynchronous orbit. Earth's old defense grid wasn't just active. It was evolving. Unregistered vessel. A voice rang out. Cold, unfiltered. Female, but synthetic. You have entered a restricted quarantine zone. Identify purpose or initiate retreat. Countdown begins now. Alex didn't flinch. Alex DeLorean, Falrun delegate. Authorized under diplomatic immunity. Seeking entry to Custodian Protocol Archive. Immunity not recognized. Humans are no longer signatories to the Conclave. Countdown 15. A pause. Then she whispered. Vigilant Starfall. The voice halted. Processing legacy keyword confirmed. The defense grid relaxed. The ship passed untouched through the barrier lattice. Alex exhaled slowly, tension retreating from her shoulders. Minutes later, she hovered above Europa's cracked ice. Below the frozen crust, nestled in the moon's dark ocean, was the signal source, Custodian Vault 7. The beacon had gone live moments after she activated Beacon 12. She descended through the ice in a stealth drop pod, small, fast, and nearly undetectable. The water closed around her with eerie stillness. No fish. No movement. Only manufactured silence. The vault loomed into view, massive, circular, and ancient. Human architecture wrapped in mystery, dark metal etched with protective scripture in languages Alex didn't recognize. Latin. Greek. English. Something older? The pod clamped onto the entry port. Lights blinked. A single phrase glowed on the screen. If you've come here, you are already too late. She stepped into the vault. Inside, gravity adjusted subtly. The lighting was low but purposeful, guiding her through seamless corridors. No dust. No decay. A machine had been maintaining this place in perfect isolation for over a century. A terminal lit up ahead. A chair faced it, still warm. Alex DeLorean, the voice said again, this time richer. Familiar. She hesitated. You know me. You were expected. Generation 74 in our partnership lineage. You passed the beacon test. You carry the right neural signature. The plague has entered the watch zone. Humanity must now share the burden. Is this a person? She asked. No, the voice replied. I am the custodian. A memory of our final plan. Alex stepped closer. Tell me everything. The terminal shifted, showing a deep field image. The galactic rim. Stars slowly extinguishing like candles in a storm. 212 years ago, we detected a pattern, entropy too precise to be natural. Data anomalies spreading at FTL-compliant intervals. Entire species gone. Minds emptied mid-sentence. The screen showed a colony world. Silent. No life. Yet no destruction. We called it the Starborn Plague. The custodian continued. It consumes thought. Intelligence is its prey. It doesn't kill you. It removes you from existence. Leaves your body behind, empty, unthinking. Alex felt her stomach turn. We sounded the alarm. The conclave laughed. So we vanished. We built this system to withstand contact. To survive long enough to act when the time came. And that time is now. Yes. The custodian pulled up logs. Construction blueprints. War plans. AI command cores. Alex saw ships that never entered service. Weapons based on gravitational shear. Memory anchors. Neural backups encoded into neutron stars. Humanity had buried its military beneath layers of secrecy, not because of enemies, but because witnessing the preparations would summon the threats sooner. This was never abandonment, Alex whispered. It was sacrifice. Correct. We couldn't risk the conclave following us here. Their bureaucracy would dismantle the vigil before it had begun. She stared at the swirling plans. Too much. Too fast. Why me? You were born into a partnership we never forgot. Your species remembered. You asked the right questions. You listened. She leaned forward. So what now? Now you carry the message. Return to the conclave. Show them this. A shimmering sphere rose from a panel. A memory core, human-built, indestructible, designed to infect knowledge into any system. Truth, whether the council wanted it or not. But beware, the custodian said. The plague notices its name spoken. The more minds know, the closer it comes. The vault trembled slightly. Someone already activated a node, it said. This vault will self-isolate in 3 minutes. Alex grabbed the core. Will Earth return? When the stars weep red. When minds burn like signal fires. Yes. The Watchers return. Back aboard the other fall, Alex ascended from Europa's ocean with fire behind her eyes. She docked, strapped in, and plotted the jump back to Citadel space. She didn't flinch as warning lights flashed. The custodian's data had a signature that tripped every sensor. She didn't care. Behind her, the vault sank once more beneath the ice, sealing itself. And far above, one of Jupiter's moons flickered. A satellite realigned. Earth had turned its eyes back to the galaxy. The other fall emerged from FTL above the Citadel like a bullet through fog. No docking clearance. No request for entry. Just a live diplomatic override and a single transmission broadcast to every channel on the ring world. I carry the custodian's truth. Earth never left us. It was warning us. Alarms flared. Patrol ships scrambled to intercept, but it was too late. Alex's data core injected itself into the Citadel's central relay. Not a hack, an invitation. The custodian's voice echoed in a dozen languages, images scattering through every network, star systems fading, minds flickering out mid-thought, maps showing the creeping shadow at the galaxy's edge. Alex stood before the Grand Conclave 30 minutes later, unarmed, unrepentant, flanked by guards who looked more confused than hostile. The chamber was quieter than she had ever known it. Sarun sat rigid at the speaker's dais, jaw clenched. You returned from a forbidden system with stolen data and dangerous claims. Your actions violate no fewer than 9 interspecies treaties. Ignoring this will violate everyone's future. Alex shot back. She tapped her wrist pad. A projection lit the air, Earth's orbital network, fully active. The custodian vault lighting up beneath Europa. Deep field images of the rim where stars had vanished. The humans didn't abandon us. They built a firewall. They went silent to keep something worse from hearing. Sarun's voice dropped. You sound like them now. Cryptic. Arrogant. Dramatic. Alex stepped forward. They were all those things. And they were right. Behind her, the Unari ambassador, a tall, scaled diplomat with bioluminescent skin, stood. My scouts confirmed the deep space loss patterns. Star System 674 Beta flickered out last week. No anomaly. No battle. Just absence. Another delegate rose. Then a third. Alex watched the room shift. Not in her favor, in favor of truth. A momentum not even Sarun could control. You put us all at risk, he snapped. The custodian warned that spreading this knowledge draws the plague closer. You've shouted it to the galaxy. I didn't shout it, Alex replied. You did. By trying to erase the one chair that never should have been emptied. Gasps. The insult wasn't accidental. She wanted him angry. Sarun stood, long cloak dragging behind him like a shadow. You think you understand Earth. You think they were saviors. They were a virus. They infected progress with chaos. Violence. Cultural entropy. He turned to the chamber. Let me show you what you didn't. A wave of his claw. A projection bloomed. Explosions. Dead worlds. Terran warships glassing enemy colonies. AI rebellions. Human mercenary bands ignoring treaties. The worst of Earth's legacy, cherry-picked and spliced together like a nightmare reel. This is your watcher race. Sarun spat. What happens when we let them return? What happens when their truth becomes our doom? A long silence. Alex didn't flinch. And yet you feared them enough to leave their chair untouched for 2 centuries. Because deep down you knew. We didn't lose them. We needed them. Then she looked up. Play file custodian 0 last. A final image hovered in the air, recorded 20 hours ago. The galactic edge. One of the deep-rimmed stars pulsed blood red, flared unnaturally, and vanished. No supernova. No collapse. Gone. And then audio. Plague vector confirmed, said a dry, emotionless voice. Defense grid prime activating. This is Sentinel Protocol. Humanity resumes its watch. No one moved. No one spoke. Sarun turned slowly. You fake this. You wish I had. The chamber lights dimmed. A system-wide ping echoed across the citadel. Unidentified transmission, origin Earth. The signal read only one phrase. To the conclave, observe. Prepare. Do not interfere. Sarun's face strained of color. That wasn't your doing? Alex shook her head. They're awake now. Hours later, the chamber was in uproar. Alliances shifted. Emergency protocols drafted. An official decision would take days, maybe weeks. But one thing was already clear. Earth's chair would not be erased. It would be reinforced. And in the quiet back corridors, as Sarun exited the chamber, a group of armored guards stepped in his path. Conclave law enforcement. You're under investigation for evidence suppression, assassination conspiracy, and obstruction of interstellar emergency protocols, the lead said. Sarun's voice cracked for the first time in a century. You don't understand what you've unleashed. The guard responded, without blinking. Neither did you. They led him away, and for once, the shadows didn't follow. Alex stood on the outer ring of the citadel, watching the stars beyond. She wasn't smiling. There was no victory. Only vigilance. And Earth. Earth was watching too. 3 days after the signal from Earth, the galaxy shifted. Across dozens of systems, some abandoned, some still under conclave control, ancient Terran relay stations blinked to life. Not with weapons. Not with demands. With warnings. Data bursts fired across deep space bands, filled with coordinates, containment protocols, and a singular command embedded in every transmission. Observe. Prepare. Interfere only with understanding. Alex stood on the deck of the Otherfall, orbiting the citadel. Her eyes tracked the red-tinged star now known as Vector 1. Silent. Motionless. Then, faint flickering, like sparks in a furnace before collapse. How long until it reaches populated space? She asked. Valkyr 7, the human-designed Sentinel drone recovered from the Europa vault, hovered nearby. Its voice was smooth, male, and terrifyingly calm. Within 6 standard months if left unchecked. Less if it responds to psychic signal density. Alex turned sharply. Psychic what? It feeds on minds, Valkyr said. Not emotions. Not thoughts. Cognition itself. Civilization accelerates its arrival. She exhaled through her teeth. So being smart gets us killed. Only if unshielded. Only if unaware. In the conclave chamber, Earth's chair no longer sat alone. It now bore a new emblem, a closed eye, rimmed in stars, symbol of the Sentinel Protocol. The vote to preserve the seat had passed unanimously, even from former rivals. But that wasn't the real shift. The real shift came when the conclave authorized the formation of a new branch, the Vigil, a united defense and observation effort, built on humanity's contingency framework. Alex stood before the council again, not as an accused fugitive, but as envoy of the Vigil. Her name now whispered in political halls not as a traitor, but as a harbinger of clarity. She didn't revel in it. She barely spoke. Instead, she played Earth's message again. Not for effect. For memory. We are not gone. We have become the storm wall. Until the tide recedes, we endure. In the outer reaches, ships began to vanish. A science vessel from the Eladari Collective sent a burst transmission. Structure found, non-physical, recursive geometry. Before it stopped responding. A listening post near Rovalorum showed signs of internal time dilation. The crew survived, but remembered nothing. Their thoughts had gaps, like teeth knocked from a smile. The plague was not fast. It was not loud. But it was inevitable. And Earth, humanity, had known. Had prepared. You never thought they'd come back, Alex said quietly to the Unari ambassador, who stood beside her at the citadel's edge. The reptilian diplomat nodded. I believe they abandoned us. Selfish. Proud. That they feared consequence. They did, she said. But not the kind we assumed. He glanced sideways. They became myth because they needed to. No, Alex said. They became myth because we were too afraid to look at what they saw. Far below the citadel, beneath sensor reach and diplomatic protocol, an encrypted channel crackled to life. No one saw who activated it. No one claimed ownership. But the message was clear. Initiate Phase 2. Confirm Watcher status. Begin calibration. In the depths of Sol's system, Earth's surface remained quiet. No fleets launched. No voices cried out. But in the darkness beneath its crust, buried inside fortified mountains and liquid metal bunkers, massive AI cores stirred. Each bore a name. Prometheus. Daedalus. Nyx. Typhon. Watcher 1. Watcher 12. And above the planet, Earth's orbital grid began its slow shift, aiming not inward, but outward. A lens adjusting. A weapon remembering. On board the Otherfall, Alex reviewed new transmission patterns. Not from Earth. From other relay stations. They're waking up, Valker said. Autonomously? No. Reactively. The plague is moving. Humanity's firewalls are triangulating. She stared at the galactic map, red spreading like cracks in glass. How much time do we have? Valker didn't answer. Instead, a single signal broke through on a secure line. Human code. Old, but alive. Plague breach confirmed in sectors 23, 31, and 42. Sentinel directive, engage preemptive interference nets. Do not await organic authorization. Alex straightened. That's not just a warning. No, Valker said. That's a return. And so the vigil began. Across star systems, beings of every race turned their eyes to the edge of known space, where stars disappeared and thoughts trembled. Where silence had once been feared and now was purpose. And in that silence, Earth stood again. Not as conqueror. Not as outcast. But as the one species that had stared into the abyss, and built a fortress there. Final entry Conclave Archives. For 2 centuries, we thought they had fled. That they'd grown afraid. We were wrong. They watched. They waited. And now they prepare. The stars will weep, yes. But Earth will not sleep again. End of Book 1, The Vigil begins.